Deb.
It's a lot of hats. It's so cold outside.
It's cold here.
Yeah. Oh
Hey,
boy.
hey, Susan, long time no see.
Hi, Lisa.
Rebecca, welcome in. Cynthia, Elena.
Lena. Oh, Susan Scardini. Oh, nice. Deb,
Oh,
where are you that you're so bundled?
I'm in Maryland and
Okay.
it's not really that bad. Actually,
Yeah.
we had couple of snowstorms, but nothing like New England.
Yes.
But I don't keep it very hot. I mean, it's like at 68 degrees, and
hmm hmm hmm
that seems reasonable.
hmm
Where's everybody calling in from? I'd love to know
Yeah.
in the chat.
I think I
Okay.
know. Sarah's in LA.
hmm
Who else can I place?
Nice.
Lisa, I can't figure out where that porch is. Is that an Ohio porch? Or
Lisa's in the Cincinnati area. I'm not sure
okay.
exactly where, but
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in Cincinnati.
Julie's in
hi,
Cincinnati.
Lisa.
Elena's in
Hi,
Cincinnati.
Lena.
Susan is in Walnut Hill, Cincinnati.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, Ellen.
Rebecca,
Hi, everybody that's here. Chicago, Rebecca. Okay.
I think maybe some more people might trickle in, but I think we might flow into some introductory remarks. This is a welcome back to our regular mindful poetry cohort, but if this is your first time joining, this is our final mindful poetry session of the fall winter season before National Poetry Month 2025. So my name is Patrick. I work as content and event coordinator, and I primarily handle mindful poetry at the Well. Mindful Poetry is a core program of the Well, running on over 5 years at this point, and it provides folks a mindful approach to poetry under the guidance of a variety of wonderful collaborators, Ellen Austenley included, a variety of writers, poets, community activists, mindfulness instructors, etc. And the concept is very simple. We will meditate, we're going to read a poem, we're going to hear a prompt, we write, and then we share. And this all happens in the container of an hour. Additionally, just so everybody knows, we will be recording this session to post on YouTube for the folks that are unable to join today. So if you would like to share during the session, but you don't want to be included on the video, we can edit you out. Just feel free to send me an email or note somehow, letting me know. I think without further ado, we're going to introduce our mindfulness facilitator for today, which is Stacy Sims, who's sitting right next to me. Stacy is the origin point of the Well and its center. Stacy is the founder and director of the Well. As a writer, she's a novelist, a playwright, author of children's books, and an often poet. And today she's going to lead our mindfulness exercise. So I'll hand it off to you, Stacy.
Well, thank you. Thanks. That was a lovely introduction. I'm super excited to be here. We were just saying earlier, it's like, oh, it feels like we need a little poetry break. And definitely in this moment in time, the more beauty we can call in, the better. So I want to just say a quick remark before we settle into our mindfulness. I'm really moved by the poem that Ellen picked for us, and we'll get to settle into it in a second. But it reminded me of a framework from Peter Levine, who's kind of the grandfather of the embodied trauma movement. And he has this framework where he looks at like life as a river, and that when something difficult happens, it breaches the banks of the sort of the river of self, creating a vortex. So within the sort of trauma or vortex, there's thoughts, feelings, images, things that swirl when things are difficult. There's always in nature a counter vortex. So the counter vortex is everything you see along the way, the laughter that you have sitting side by side, the pain you have when you're losing a loved one. It's the multiplicity. So we're going to settle in and just do a little exploration of that multiplicity, which is, I think, a nice lead into this gorgeous poem. So let's just take a second before we go inward. And it's almost like you want to prep your body a little bit and to be prepared to settle in. And sometimes it's nice to move your eyes, move your neck, just look around your space. And if you can bring that poet's attention to it. So you're not just rotating neck and eyes, but you might be going like, oh, there's a sparkly light. Oh, I do need to clean up over there. What are you seeing? What are you taking in? And by creating a little bit more orientation of your eyes and your spine, you're helping your animal body settle into the moment with less worry about what's behind us. So now we're going to begin to go inward. I close my eyes to be able to process inward, but if you don't like to do that, you can just soften your gaze, perhaps set your focus on one thing in the moment. And you're first going to find your ground. Meaning, where's the weight of your body connected to your earth in this moment? Be it a chair, floor, or even standing. So a nice mantra is, I am where my feet are. I am where my seat is. In the trauma swirl, we lose track of time. And poets help us understand time a little better. So by taking our attention to the felt sense of being situated in a place, helps our metronome understand a little bit more where we are. Within the silence, find your breath, find your pulse, find your habitual thoughts. Embrace them. Your interiority is as unique and as special as you are. And we're going to do a little mental exercise with our mindful moment. And find in your own rear view mirror of life and time, pick a moment, there might be many, it might be this one, where things were particularly difficult. We're just going to anchor the moment of the difficulty. But I want you to sort of view around it. In the difficult moment, what also became evident to you? Who showed up? What practices did you get to enjoy? COVID was horrible for many, but rest for others. And perhaps notice how your body responds to, if you think about the difficulty, you might notice that your body contracts, your breath shortens. There's often a physical response to the memory of difficulty. But when you begin to scan your environment for some of the secret gifts of that moment, revealed in the moment or much later, perhaps you might notice that your breath expands, your stomach relaxes, maybe even your face changes. And we'll just rub our palms together. Because we're freezing here in Ohio. But then we're going to take those warm hands and perhaps bring them to our eyes or face, maybe a little massage, maybe creating a moment where you kind of open your fingers so then the light of the room comes in a beautiful way, not a jarring way. And it is my pleasure to turn us from this moment toward the beautiful poem and our facilitator today, Ellen Austin Lee. So Ellen has been a part of our community for several years, and she's a Cincinnati-based poet whose 2025 debut collection, Incidental Pollen, is the runner-up to Madville Publishing's Arthur Smith Poetry Prize. And we'll also be, we're moving our offices at the Well from Camp Washington to Walnut Hills. So it is highly likely that Ellen will be our first event in our new space in Walnut Hills with her poetry collection. Finishing Line Press published her chapbooks, Firefly and Lockdown, Scenes from Early in the Pandemic. Ellen is also a Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net nominated poet whose work appears in many journals and anthologies. And for those of you who are more local, she co-founded the monthly reading series Poetry Night at Sitwell's, which is a lovely community for poets and people gathering together to celebrate the voices of our community. Once a nurse, always a nurse, Ellen tends bees in her Queen City courtyard. Cincinnati is also known as the Queen City, and shares an empty nest with her husband. And we're going to give you information on about how to connect to Ellen. So we've been looking at the poem today, just getting ready and excited for this event. So I'm super excited to turn it over to Ellen, and she will introduce our poet and our prompts for today. Thanks, Ellen.
Thanks very much, Stacy, for that lovely introduction. And thank you to Patrick and to Bryce for being there as well. And I'm so happy that you're all here. This is so wonderful. I'm really excited to share this poem from Gabrielle Calvocoressi that I fell in love with the first time I read it. And it's just a poem that means a lot to me. So I'm really happy to share this with you. I'm going to read just a little bit of Gabrielle's bio before I start the poem so I don't interrupt afterwards with, I don't break the reverie from the poem. But Gabrielle has such an incredible bio that I've asked Patrick to copy and paste it into the chat so you can take a look at it. I'm not going to spend the time to read the whole one, but I will read you a few sentences from it. So Gabrielle Calvocoressi is the author of The Last Time I Saw Amelia Earhart, Apocalyptic Swing, which was a finalist for the LA Times Book Prize, and Rocket Fantastic, which is the first collection of theirs that I read. that's phenomenal. And that's the winner of the Audre Lorde Award for Lesbian Poetry. So Calvocoressi teaches at UNC Chapel Hill and lives in Old East Durham, North Carolina, where joy, compassion, and social justice are at the center of their personal and poetic practice. And they have a new collection of poetry coming out this year from Copper Canyon Press called The New Economy. So I hope you can check out some of their work on your own. So I'm going to go ahead and read the poem. And right after I read the poem, I'm going to read you a brief note that Calvocoressi composed for the poets.org website, kind of to describe the situation behind this poem. So it's called Achingly Beautiful, How the Sky Blooms Umber at the End of the Day Through the Canopy. Summers spent practicing in the apartment stairwell, hand on the banister, one foot after another. Did I tell you I couldn't walk until I was 3, and then sort of dragged myself up and downstairs until I was 7 or 8? That burgundy carpet. I'd stop to breathe and look out the window over brick tenements toward the Capitol building. Oak leaves so full of late summer sun, even I thought obscene, and stood stunned for a moment. My God, the urge to rest like the birds on the phone wires, chatting like barristers at the end of the day. Myself, the useless ambassador from the 3rd floor. I was the last one up, so the door was left open. I can still see it gaping from 2 stories down. Sometimes music played. Sometimes I'd smell supper. Neighbors stopped to say hello. Achingly beautiful how the sky looked as I stood after they left. Nicer somehow in the middle. All the trees tucking blackbirds into their darkness. It really did take that long. It's achingly beautiful how the sky blooms umber at the end of the day through the canopy. What a title. And here's the brief note from Gabrielle. The scariest thing about going to Catholic school was that I was told I had to learn to walk up and down stairs, something I couldn't do by the age of 7 because of my nystagmus. I spent the summer learning how to walk up and down stairs. I hadn't thought about it in ages, and then this poem appeared. So I'd love to open the chat, verbally or in the chat box itself up to all of you that are here today to share kind of your impressions of this poem, what it brings up for you, what you notice, whatever you'd like to share. So it's up on the screen if you'd like to look at it. And feel free to raise your hand either electronically or physically. We'll try to get to as many of you as possible. Sarah, go right ahead.
I first of all think that you did a beautiful job reading. I was just touched by your reading of it. And I loved the word obscene, the little my God. And I think it made me think of this prose poem I wrote back in 2014 when I was going through a very, very terrible breakup. And I was in deep, deep pain, but I couldn't stop in my poem talking about what was happening. I couldn't stop talking about the brilliance of the flower right in front of me and the look of that beautiful, tall woman walking right in front of me with her very tall son. And this just brought me this moment of thinking about pain and beauty and how intertwined they can be, and memories can be very bittersweet. And I could talk for a long time, but I'm going to stop there. I just really appreciated this. Thank you.
That's beautiful, Sarah. Thank you. It sounds just like what happened with this poem. Would anyone else like to share what they noticed in this poem?
I think I'm really struck by at the very beginning, the framing that it's a question of, did I ever tell you? And I think I'm struck by like, who are we speaking to? And what's kind of the context that this is coming out? Because it feels like such a personal thing to share. And it's like the framing is very interesting.
Yes, thank you, Rebecca. I hope you go by Rebecca, not Becky, but yes, I that creates such intimacy, that question. Thank you for that. Amy?
I I keep coming back to the very image at the end with the trees tucking the blackbirds into their darkness. It feels a comforting thing that I could imagine the branches just protecting them in the darkness as they roost for the night. And sometimes in the midst of our pain, we may not notice that there are comforts at the time. There is beauty, there is hope. And when we do finally realize it, we get through it. And so I am also reminded of the darkness, like when Mary Oliver's poem, when she talks about that she was gifted this darkness and it was a gift. And so our confidence going forward that we can tackle strong, really hard things because of our strength, because of our memories of going through hard times, that helps too. We need that.
Thank you, Amy.
Beautiful poem. Yeah.
Thank you. I love that observation too. Deb Bono, my friend joining from London. Would you like to share something, Deb? You're muted right now, though. We'll wait.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Okay. Piggybacking onto the how intimate and personal the question makes the poem, there's also a number of moments where it's just purely conversational, where the speaker says that burgundy carpet, right?
Mhm.
It's just 3 words. And somehow it's both ordinary and transcendent at the same time. And that's one of the things I love about her work altogether. Not just this poem, but she has this extraordinary gift for making things feel like you're talking to your hairdresser and also like you're talking to the universe.
Yes, thank you, Deb. I agree with that. Thank you. Michael Verga says in chat, reminds me of Jane Kenyon's Let Evening Come. Thank you, Michael. Does anyone else have anything they want to share? I'm wondering, oh, here's Francine says, I felt sad and distressed when I read the story behind the poem about her traumatic experience at Catholic school as a little child. There are 2 stories here. It reminded me of reasons for writer's block. There was no inspiration for me here. Oh, I'm sorry to hear there was no inspiration for you, Francine. Well, hopefully one of the images or something in the poem, even just working off an image is more than enough of a prompt. I'm going to read, Michael says Jackson Browne's lyrics are both intimate and transcendent. Very true. Anyone else? Julie?
Yeah, I would love to share. I kind of love how she's using architecture and then the idea of a window as an escape to, she's sort of stuck maybe with the trauma of what she was going through and then physically stuck because of her legs aren't working properly. But this window is just this beautiful world where she has a sense of community as well as a sense of release and escape. There's beauty coming through the window in the form of the smelling of the supper and the neighbors passing by. So this window is just like a saving grace for her in this moment. It's really nice.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, there's such a grounding to place in this poem. Deb, Daniel?
Yes, the line that sort of meant the most to me was myself, the useless ambassador from the 3rd floor. And it sort of speaks to her being outside the family
Mhm.
of whatever turmoil they were in,
Mhm.
but yet having to make her own way.
Mhm.
So somehow she's a part of that, but knows that the responsibility for her way is going to be for herself.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, thank you, Deb. I appreciate that. Elena?
Thanks, Ellen. Hello, everyone. I was struck by the two worlds because when she was little, she couldn't walk and she dragged herself up and down the stairs, and her world was that burgundy carpet. Not much to see there. And then when she finally gets out in the open, and maybe her legs do ache, but she recognizes the beauty, so it's achingly beautiful. That's how I interpreted it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
trauma shrinks your world. I
Mhm.
just know that from experience.
Mhm.
But being a poet, she couldn't be limited, so she opened up to the sky, and
Mhm.
that's why I love that title, because it's just she's letting it all out.
Mhm.
No more burgundy carpet.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you, Elena.
Ellen.
Yes, Sarah added, I think I'm realizing that I believe pain can heighten a sense of beauty.
Mm,
And one of the main things I remember about April 2020, the time of COVID, is how brilliant the springtime flowers were. Yes, very much so. And then Joanne shares overall a reflection on childhood, personal growth, and quiet beauty found in this moment. Um, those are all beautiful observations. Thank you. And I wanted to just make a comment about, I can't remember, I think Linda said this about not being a poet. We're all poets, Linda. Everyone's a poet at heart. So you relieve yourself of that. Um, and we all love to hear what we what you have to say. Um, we probably have time for one more comment before I read the prompts, and just so we have time for writing. Stacy, I think I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just am having a almost overwhelming and super fun sense memory of carpets. Like,
Mm,
because we were like, it was when shag carpets became a thing, and
mhm,
plush, and the specificity of the household textures,
mhm,
getting to pick out a wallpaper in the wallpaper book. And so I feel just super excited to think about just the potency of a single textural childhood memory.
It's a great way of pointing out like how just an image from a poem, even if it's not something that's in one of the prompts that I read, can be what you work off of. It can be anything that is inspired by this poem. So I think this is a good time for me to go ahead and read the prompts. I have them listed on my sheet as basically three different prompts. Oh, great. Thank you, Patrick. Just put it up on the screen. But the first two are really one and the same. The second one is a kind of a continuation of the first. So I'll go ahead and read them. The speaker in Calvocoressi's poem gives voice to some physical challenges that force her to slow down to notice. Can you think of a time when you slowed down enough to fix your surroundings in your mind? Describe what you witnessed using all of your senses. And then two, the speaker reflects on these childhood moments of solitude, which allowed them to experience a quiet epiphany in retrospect. And you see that in the very last sentence in the poem, which we didn't really talk about. But this prompt, I would like you to think about writing about an abiding image from your past to see where it takes you and allow yourself that expression of an epiphany. Like I know for myself, sometimes I hold back from that because I don't feel like what my epiphany is kind of important enough to write down. But I just want to give you the freedom to do that. And then the other is what I already mentioned, is to use any word, phrase, or image in the poem to inspire your own piece. In other words, number 4 is follow your muse, and that's what that means. Go wherever you want to go right now with your writing. So with that, we have, I think, 10 minutes of writing time. Is that accurate,
Yeah,
Patrick?
I'll set a
Okay.
timer for 10 minutes and we'll come back at about 3:42.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I'll set that right now and I'll switch back to the poem so everybody can read
Okay.
that and then post these prompts in the chat. We have about a minute left. All right. If you could kind of finish your last thoughts, we will transition into some time to share. Ellen, would you like to call out the folks that are interested in sharing their poetry?
I would be happy to do that. And I hope everyone had a fruitful 10 minutes and don't feel like you're going to be sharing a finished product. Nobody expects that. This is all about, just getting a start on something. And yeah, does anyone, Sarah, looks like you're ready. Feel free to share.
Thank you. I was in timeout on the couch again. My sister and I used to wake up and plot ways to be perfect little children so as to avoid being hit even once all day. I don't remember ever succeeding. I lay on this couch, bored as I was always bored, studying the threads against my cheek. A light beige, a cream, a peach, a tan, colors of the earth. It was almost painful how they would repeat themselves, an undulating order no matter which way I turned. To this day, certain repeating patterns make me feel unsteady, slightly dizzy. The light from the window in that beautiful, sunny, plant-lined room, light casting squares against the cream-painted walls above the couch, against the oak floors my father had stained himself on his hands and knees. As birds flitted by, their shadows would flit against those squares. Such serenity, such stillness, while inside my rib cage, all was a nauseating turbulence that could not be calmed. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Sarah. That was so rich. I loved how you brought in the threads from the couch. It was amazing. Thank you. Anyone else would like to share? Love that.
I will, Ellen. Susan can't
Yay.
see me.
Thank you. No, I can't see you, but we can hear you, so go for it.
Okay. Nancy Drew, my lone friend, in my room where I chose solitude over the chaos in my 6 family members. I chose this light bulb lit darkness where Nancy was easy. Her father was nice. Her mother gone like mine, even though mine was physically present. My mother gone emotionally. Me alone in my room, alone.
Oh, thank you, Susan. Thank you. I love how you identified with Nancy, like Nancy Drew's character, and brought your own life into it. Thank you.
Sure.
Deb Daniel.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. On the dining room wallpaper, Cupids dance in pink tutus. She sits at one end of the table. I sit across at the far end of the table. Her thick book, open to a chapter on European history. Midway through the book, with its fraying binding giving way to time, I cherish the quiet, peaceful time between her razor-sharp thoughts. Today, I know the cold wind of aging would blow holes in her mind as the dream of a better world dissipates with the blustering winds of history one more time.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Deb. I really appreciated that. Thank you. Rebecca.
There were a few select years where I walked off the bus by myself. It wasn't a long walk, but the solitude of my school bag, me, and the seasons was enough each afternoon. And sometimes I would speak to the neighbors' dogs. I would sing aloud. I would stand beneath the trees lined up so perfectly along our curved driveway. And in the winter, I would stand in awe of the frozen branches and white lined trunks. In the spring, I would leave my bag and collect helicopter leaves from the asphalt, drop them one at a time, watch them spin along the changing spring air. The solitude of the driveway where the seasons came to life, and my young feet stepped into the small space between a home and school, between social and learning. Here I learned the solitude, the change of seasons, and the peace of loneliness.
Oh, that's lovely. I think we all love the helicopter leaves. That was wonderful. Thank you. I'm glad you kept the childhood nomenclature intact. Elena?
I I want to escape all the time, dreaming about some ghost life I would have had if my personal choices were different. So many voices seem to say, choose me, like becoming a ballerina or going to college right out of high school. If I stayed in my rent-controlled apartment in New York City, yet I chose this, sometimes a half-life, where I am coasting from one day to the next. A half-life still filled with hope that the broken pieces don't have to be put together like a cosmic jigsaw. I let the cracks show, with all that entails, some with ragged edges and others smoothed over by time. If everything has meaning, then I cannot explain suffering. Yes, sometimes a bird singing is just a bird, or an amber sunset is just night falling. And yet when a rainbow appears after a deluge of rain and mud, I can't help but feel that the color indigo is just for me. There is beauty in slowing down, in smelling a flower. It is bright yellow with no scent. It is the only childhood photo I have. Me in front of mommy and sister arguing. I'm holding the flower to my nose, and the left hand is opened and raised in a form of praise. I was praising before I could pray. Thank you.
That's gorgeous, Elena. I let the cracks show. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm loving what I'm hearing. So great. Anyone else want to share? I think we have some more time for sharing.
I think Lisa wants to share.
Okay, go for it, Lisa. Do I see that? No. Lisa?
Yeah, thank you,
Oh,
Ellen.
okay. Yeah.
My husband is caregiver during cancer treatment. The steps creak, announcing him as I blink the night from my eyes and stretch my body awake. He sets a cup of coffee by the bed, plants a kiss on my forehead, cheek, then lips. sets himself on the other side, sinking onto the mattress, facing me. We talk about the quality of our sleep, of the soft gray light filling the window and room, of the meds I need to take that he'll add to the list, his meticulous record of my day unfolding. His hair is ruffled, telling his sleep story, the tosses and turns, the long time on one side, pushing up silver strands to absolute wild adorableness. My hair does not tell of my rest, how I moved on the pillows in the night. Its absence is writing a different story.
Wow. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Beautiful remembrance. Very tender, yes. Deb Bona. Feel free, Deb. You have your hand up, I think.
I do, yeah. I'm
Okay.
trying to get my sound on. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you.
I know you're talking directly to me. Stories about your childhood, things you're afraid of, what you think is beautiful. I know that even if my thoughts are temporarily arid, I can hold hands with yours and feel them watered, tended, a little fertilizer here, a little deadheading there. I hear you tell me, it's okay, it'll come, I'm right here. I'll lend you my colors. Sit still for a minute, you tell me. Forget that outside. Look at your sky. The crisp post-rain clouds outlined over the skyline. No building higher than the Queen's. Every second block, a church spire pokes up. I know you cherish how I see the sky, even if I don't, not right now. Achingly beautiful, how you walk alongside me and tell me my visions matter too.
It's gorgeous, Deb. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Stephen,
We could,
do we have
I-
time for one more or
We
not?
have two more, but Julie, we'll do Julie, then Stephen.
Okay, Julie, then Stephen. I don't see Julie. Are you seeing Julie?
I
No.
am. She's got to unmute.
Okay.
you want to share, Julie?
You want me to go ahead or are we
Yeah,
waiting?
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
Okay. Okay. Being lost in languages, the tam-tam of drums, looping black swallows, hennaed hands, welcomed me as an awkward stranger, realizing a dream while being overwhelmed at the reality of this dream. I'm inside the storyteller's circle, where none of the words made any sense. What was the man in sequins saying? What story is being told? Why is everyone clapping? What is making this storyteller's circle as this ancient story where everyone is laughing is being shared in this vivid dusk city square? I cling to my husband, desperate for a glimmer of a translation from Arabic to English, of an ocean of a story, knowing in this paper-thin passing moment, I will remain in this spot here in Marrakesh until I understand every word, all for myself. So that was a bit clumsy.
Thank you, Julie. Thanks for sharing. Sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
That's
Thank
okay.
you for sharing. Thank you. Stephen?
Okay. I rollerblade to the gym along an LA river. Sometimes I go fast, sometimes at the right time, The moon slow me down when it's coming out. Sometimes the singing frogs stop for me to pass. The end.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that.
Thanks to
Well,
everyone for sharing. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for being vulnerable and sharing, and I hope you all got to write something that you can go forward with. Thank you.
And if you would still want to work on your poem, feel free to send it to the well afterwards, and we can post it on our blog. I wanted to thank you, Ellen, as well, for facilitating this beautiful session. Stacy as well. I'm just going to go through some quick bookends here before doing a final reading of the poem. So we're not going to have mindful poetry next month in March, but April is coming up, and that's National Poetry Month, and we'll have a virtual gathering for 4 weeks through April. So stay tuned for more details on that. The theme for this year that Manuel Iris chose is reconciliation and self-love. So stay tuned for the poems that will be shared and the facilitators as well. And yeah, and please reach out to me if you would like to be edited out of this session. Yeah, and before we started the gathering, we were thinking if any one of you in the gathering would like to do a final reading of the poem, feel free to raise your hand, feel invited to.
Looks like Elena's got her hand up.
Great. I will share my screen.
Thanks, Elena.
Thank you. My voice is good today, so.
Oh, good.
Go ahead, Elena.
Okay, I wanted to read the title. Oh, okay. Achingly beautiful how the sky blooms umber at the end of the day through the canopy by Gabrielle Calvocoressi. Summer spent practicing in the apartment stairwell, hand on the banister, one foot after another. Did I ever tell you I couldn't walk until I was 3 and then sort of dragged myself up and down stairs until I was 7 or 8? That burgundy carpet. I'd stop to breathe and look out the window over brick tenements toward the Capitol building. Oak leaves so full of late summer sun, even I thought obscene, and stood stunned for a moment. My God, the urge to rest like the birds on the phone wires, chatting like barristers at the end of the day. Myself, the useless ambassador from the 3rd floor. I was the last one up, so the door was left open. I can still see it gaping from 2 stories down. Sometimes music played. Sometimes I'd smell supper. Neighbors stopped to say hello. Achingly beautiful how the sky looked as I stood after they left. Nicer somehow in the middle. All the trees tucking blackbirds into their darkness. It really did take this long. Okay.
Thank you so much for doing that final reading, Elena. And thank you again, Ellen, for bringing this beautiful poem to us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled you were all here. It was wonderful.
That was some gorgeous writing, y'all. Gorgeous, fast, deep. We could make our own poetry collection out of those poems alone. So
Absolutely.
the other thing that many of you know is that our April sessions lead to a publishing opportunity, and we do publish a volume of poems generated during April together. So we look very forward to seeing you in April. And thanks for Patrick for holding such a nice space for us. Anything else we need to cover?
I think so.
Did we
Yeah,
forget anything?
I think that might be it.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thank you. We'll see you in April.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you are all here. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Good to see everybody.
Good to see all of you.
Bye, everyone.